Hi, welcome to the Small Shed. Today I want to pass on a quick tip about organising the workshop layout. See you in a minute. Now, since I originally set the workshop up 18 months ago probably now, I've moved it round once or twice, and every time I do it, it causes absolute chaos because it's such a small space and you haven't really got room to move stuff around. It's more like a game of Tetris than an actual planning exercise. I had a reorganisation about a fortnight ago and it's still not quite there, so I just thought I'd show you what I've got. A few of the pitfalls I've found with the shed as it's laid out at the moment, and what I'm using to actually make sure that when I do get a layout in my head that it works reasonably well and reasonably efficiently before I start moving furniture around. So let's just have a look at the workshop as it is at the moment. Now, as it stands at the moment, the workbench is fine. I've moved the vacuum into that left hand corner from the right hand side. It was in that far corner and I couldn't really get much access to emptying the bin. So before I get really involved in reorganising all the duct outlets and extraction points, I wanted to make sure I'd really got the workshop properly working. The new MFT 1000 clone work table has caused most of the problem because it's just something extra that's come into this shop. But I'd also had problems with storing bits and pieces which always seem to end up on top of a workbench, and they are slowly finding places to live, and that problem is getting solved pretty much by putting them underneath the planer cart which is in the corner. The only snag with that is when it's there I can't get at it, so I can't get at the bits and pieces. Triton spindle sander's a nuisance as well at the moment, in that it really needs to be on a table a bit lower than that, and I haven't got anywhere to put it. So I've got to address quite a number of problems here, so it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before I can get organised. One of the first things that hasn't worked very well is the pull-out sections for the sustainers. I've got these slides on the sustainers to be able to get at things, which are great, but there are 2 layers of sustainers. There's one there and one behind it, and the intention always was that I would pull out this unit for things that I didn't use so much. The whole of that unit would pull out on casters, and the odd things like big routers and SDS drills are living in big sustainers on the far side. Now, in practice that is not really practicable to be pulling that out 700 or 800 mil depth plus the depth you need to open the drawers. So I'm going to upgrade those drawer slides in here. I've got some 700 mil long ones here that will mean that I just pull out the whole 2 lots of sustainers with one from one side. So that's the first thing that's got to be done on that unit, otherwise it's working fine. The next issue is the vacuum, which for some reason best known to myself at the time protrudes quite a long way. Now at the moment that top is about 70 mil higher than the workbench, so it means wherever that is, whether it's there or down the other end, if ever I'm trying to do anything with long lengths of timber, they're in the way. Now it is on casters, which it doesn't need to be, and I think they're about 50 mil. So I'm going to drop the casters off the bottom, and then I'm going to either adapt the bottom bin by 25 mil or so and lower this top section down just a little bit. That's not a difficult thing to do because it's just sitting on wooden runners. But that will drop that down so that that table becomes down at table level. And what that effectively does is give me a 500 by 500 worktop. And onto that, hopefully I can pop the Triton sander out of the way, but at least it can then be hooked up to the vacuum and it won't be too high up. So that's maybe what will happen with that. The planer cart I again built to be level, the top to be level with the main, all the other tables on the units. That is, the planer bed is level, but it meant that the fence and everything else is higher, and there's not really any need for it to be level with everything else because I'm not likely to be doing planing from off any of the other tables. So again, I'm going to drop that middle rail on the planer cart by about 50-60 mil, I think, to drop the planer down so that again I've got another decent worktop level over there that I can do something with. So that will increase, if you like, the workbench top areas. Now all I need to do is sort out where the stuff needs to go. It's more or less right. I used to have the Triton TWX7 workbench over there. That was great for routing, but when you came to use the circular saw insert, it meant that you couldn't get behind the saw to use it, and even then it would then just push you into the wall. So I've moved that over to the other side behind the door, and what that means is that if as and when I want to use it for sawing timber as a circular saw with that insert in, I can just pull the whole thing out into the middle of the shed, and it will give me some more chance of being able to work more efficiently. It's still not perfect, there's still not enough room in here, but there never is. You've got to make do with what you've got. Now, I rearranged it this way round and it seemed to be okay. It took me about a day and a bit to do that because, for example, to get that out, you have to move the TWX7 because it won't fit between there. To get the planer cart out, you've got to get the TWX7 out, you've got to get that out, and so it goes on. You can see that it's a massive problem every time you want to try something different. So let's just have a look at what I've been using since then to try and refine it down to a situation where I can actually get a rough idea of what I want to do without having to kill myself moving stuff around. So there we are. It's nothing more clever than a piece of foam cord board that is 1/20th the size of the shed. So I've laid out on it where the door is, where the windows are, and where I've currently got vacuum outlets fitting, although I may well move those. And I've just cut out pieces for the, again to scale, for the MFT table, the TWX7, the shop vac, chop saw, a planer, and the MW1000 workstation. And at the moment that's the sort of layout I've got. What I'm thinking of doing, if I've got the room, and I'm not quite sure, is to move the MFT back to where it was for the first 6 months. It was never any great problem there. It means that the fold up arm for the right angle cutting saw support, track saw support, is up against the wall between the windows, and that works well. And I'm thinking if I put the planer end on in there, it means it can be pulled out to be used more easily. Put the shop vac where again it originally started out in life, but with that reduced height. So if I've got the reduced height on that and the reduced height on that, we should be okay. And I think there is room to drop the MW1000 in sideways on there. That again has a worktop that's level with the rest of the stuff, so it should give me a pretty much straight table all the way along there if I needed it. It will also mean that with a minimal amount of moving around I can get the chop saw out, and indeed if I had to I could put the chop saw down the other end, although I would be blocking the window up with it there and probably not with any dust extraction over there. But at least it means I can get at the vacuum and the MW1000 without too much trouble, and similarly I can pull out the TWX7 if I need to into the workplace there. So that's what I think I'm going to do, but that is the beauty of something like this. There are, even with 6 things here, there are about 120 odd permutations of how you could put those round, and that's without going into whether they're sighted that way or that way. So there's a huge amount of different alternatives, some of which will work, some of which won't. Now I'm fairly close I think with it now after, as I say, after a year and a half, but I think this will just improve it. So if you have got to change your workshop around, don't just dive in and start moving stuff around. Just spend 10 or 15 minutes with some bits of cardboard. If you want to get really advanced, you can have a look at something I did for our men in sheds when we were looking at moving premises. Just show you a clip of that. We went down to look at a unit down in Bromsgrove that was similar to the one we were in, but it was a more square shape, and we had a site visit that all the guys went down and had a look. I measured it all up and then came back and built up a cardboard, similar sort of thing, foam core board mock-up, and that enabled us to get all the benches, the machinery and everything else, much bigger scale than this, but it enabled us to find out where we could put timber racks and things like that. So that was well worth the effort. We didn't actually move in the end, and we're still in our original unit, but we were afraid we'd have to move at one point. Just as a tip, I hope, that it may well save you some time if you're planning your workshop moves, just to do it all on paper first. So that was just a little tip that I hope is useful for making a far more elegant solution to your workshop layout than trying to push bits of furniture around for weeks on end in the heat and probably finding at the end of it that it's not going to work very well. Hope it was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be doing something different. See you then. Bye.